Most people believe that marriage is a fortress, an unbreakable bond that protects two people from temptation. They assume that once vows are exchanged, loyalty is automatic. But that belief? It's a lie. In reality, the most dangerous betrayals don't happen in reckless, impulsive moments. They unfold slowly, subtly, in ways even the person committing them doesn't fully understand, until it's too late. Married women aren't walking around looking to cheat. They don't wake up one day and decide to destroy their marriage. But make no mistake, many of them are the easiest prey. Not because they're weak. Not because they lack morals. But because something is missing. Something they crave more than they're willing to admit. At first, it's nothing. A conversation. A shared moment of laughter. A compliment that lingers just a little too long. She tells herself it's harmless. After all, she's married, she loves her husband. What's the harm in talking? But here's the brutal truth: the most dangerous affairs don't start in the bedroom. They start in the mind. Psychologists call it emotional drift, a slow, invisible shift where a woman begins to detach from her husband, often without realizing it. And once that drift begins, stopping it is nearly impossible. It's not always about lust. It's not even about escape. It's about something deeper, something primal. A married woman may have a ring on her finger, a home, and a stable life. But what happens when she no longer feels seen? When she starts to feel invisible? The answer is simple: she starts searching for attention elsewhere. And the moment she finds it, everything changes. Because nothing is more addictive than feeling wanted again. In today's video, we're going to look at the top 3 reasons why married women are easy pickings. And here's something you don't want to miss: the last statement about why married women are the easiest to get laid is true for 85% of married women. So be sure to watch this video to the end. And that brings us to the first, unspoken reason why married women become the easiest prey: attention deficit and emotional hunger. Most men assume that if a woman is married, she's off limits, not interested, not searching, completely fulfilled. But that assumption is dangerously naive. The truth is, many married women are starving for attention, not because they don't love their husbands, but because they no longer feel seen by them. It happens so gradually that even she doesn't notice it at first. In the beginning, her husband couldn't take his eyes off her. Every glance, every touch, every word made her feel like the center of his world. But time changes things. Routine settles in. The deep conversations turn into logistical discussions about bills and schedules. The affectionate touches become absent-minded habits. The romance that once set her heart on fire is now a distant memory. At first, she tells herself it's normal. It's just life. Every marriage slows down eventually. But then one day, something small happens, something that shifts everything. Maybe it's a lingering glance from a stranger. Maybe it's a compliment she hasn't heard in years. Maybe it's a man who actually listens when she talks. And in that moment, a spark reignites inside her. A feeling she didn't even realize she had lost. And that's when it begins. She doesn't plan on crossing any lines. She doesn't consider herself disloyal. But that moment, the one where she feels something again, becomes the seed planted in the back of her mind. And from that moment on, she starts noticing. Noticing how much her husband takes her for granted. How rarely he compliments her. How often he scrolls through his phone instead of looking at her. And at the same time, she starts noticing the men who do pay attention. The ones who smile at her in passing. The ones who laugh at her jokes. The ones who make her feel interesting again. And then, the most dangerous thought of all creeps in: what if I still have the power to captivate someone? This is where the game changes. From a Stoic perspective, this moment is where reason should step in. The philosophy teaches that true happiness isn't found in fleeting pleasures, but in discipline, self-control, and inner peace. But for many women, the hunger for attention overpowers logic. Because here's what most men don't realize: attention is like oxygen. And when a woman feels starved of it for long enough, she will seek it out anywhere she can find it. It doesn't have to be physical. In fact, it usually starts with something far more dangerous: emotional validation. Maybe it's a coworker who listens a little too intently. Maybe it's an old friend who suddenly seems interested again. Maybe it's a harmless online message that turns into an ongoing conversation. At first, it's nothing. It's just a little fun. Just someone who makes her smile. But deep down, she knows the truth. She knows she's enjoying it too much. She knows she's seeking it out more often. She knows that if her husband did the same thing, she wouldn't be okay with it. But here's where the rationalization begins. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's just talking. It's not like I'm cheating. And yet, the more she allows herself to indulge, the more the emotional distance in her marriage grows. Because when another man makes her feel seen, her husband starts to seem more invisible. This is why many affairs don't begin with an intention to cheat. They begin with a need to feel something again. And once that need is awakened, it becomes impossible to ignore. Most men assume they'd recognize the signs, that they'd know if their wife was slipping away. But the most dangerous part? She doesn't even realize it herself until she's already gone too far. And that brings us to the next reason why married women become the easiest prey: they have less fear of consequences. Most people think that fear keeps people faithful, that the risk of being caught is enough to stop someone from crossing the line. But what if I told you that for many married women, that fear is almost non-existent? It sounds counterintuitive. Shouldn't a woman who has built a life, a family, a stable home have more to lose? Shouldn't the fear of ruining everything she's worked for keep her loyal? That's what most people assume. But in reality, it's the exact opposite. Because unlike single women, who are still searching for security, marriage already gives her that stability. She doesn't have to worry about ending up alone. She doesn't have to fear judgment for being in a relationship; she's already in one. In her mind, she has nothing to prove. And this is where the danger begins. She tells herself that nothing will come of it, that it's just harmless fun, that she's in control. And yet, she starts making small exceptions. A message she wouldn't have answered before? She responds that. A compliment that would have made her uncomfortable years ago? Now, she welcomes it. A conversation that lasts just a little too long? She lets it happen. Because deep down, she doesn't feel like she's risking anything. This is where the mental gymnastics begin. She convinces herself that as long as no one knows, there's no harm. That if her husband never finds out, it doesn't count. That it's just something for her, something separate from her real life. It's a false sense of security. A dangerous illusion. Because the human mind is a master of rationalization. It can justify anything if given enough time. And in her mind, she has built the perfect excuse: I deserve this. I'm not leaving my husband. I'm not ruining my marriage. I just need this one thing for myself. It's not about betrayal, it's about balance. That's how she justifies it. But here's the terrifying truth: once a woman starts believing she has nothing to lose, she becomes unstoppable. Because at this point, she's no longer acting out of guilt or hesitation, she's acting out of entitlement. She convinces herself that she has given enough, that she has sacrificed enough, that she has earned the right to do something for herself. And that's when the real danger starts. Because once she stops fearing consequences, the only thing left is desire. She no longer asks, should I do this? She only asks, do I want to? And once that shift happens, once she crosses that invisible mental threshold, there is no turning back. Most men assume that a married woman will hesitate, that she will feel the weight of her choices, that she will second-guess herself. But what they don't realize is this: once she believes she deserves it, she won't hesitate at all. Because at that point, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about loyalty or betrayal. It's about something far more intoxicating. It's about proving something to herself. And that brings us to the next reason why married women become the easiest prey: the desire for self-affirmation and a return to youth. There's a moment in every woman's life when she looks in the mirror and sees someone she doesn't recognize. The face looking back at her isn't the same one she remembers from years ago. The glow of youth has faded. The excitement in her eyes has dulled. The woman who once felt unstoppable, radiant, and desired, she's been replaced by someone else. A wife. A mother. A caretaker. Someone whose needs always come last. And that's when the thought creeps in, is this it? At first, she pushes it away. Of course, she's happy. Of course, she loves her life. But deep down, something is missing. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, it happens. A man, not her husband, looks at her in a way she hasn't been looked at in years. It's not just admiration. It's hunger, interest, curiosity. In that moment, something deep inside her wakes up. Because for the first time in a long time, she doesn't feel invisible. She doesn't feel like just a role, she feels like a woman again. And that's when the most dangerous thought of all takes hold: what if I still have it? Most people assume that when married women cheat, it's because they're unhappy in their marriage. That's the biggest misconception. Because many of them aren't looking for a way out. They're looking for a way back to who they used to be. Back to the version of themselves that felt desirable, that had men chasing her, that felt like she could own any room she walked into. But time has taken that from her. And nothing feels more intoxicating than the chance to take it back. It starts with the small things. She pays closer attention to her appearance. She starts wearing the clothes she used to love but stopped wearing after marriage. She takes a little extra time with her hair, her makeup. Not for her husband. For the attention she's now aware of. And then, the game begins. The harmless flirting. The way she lingers in conversations just a little longer than necessary. The thrill of knowing that someone else wants her. It's not about love. It's not even about lust. It's about power. Because the moment another man makes her feel like she's still wanted, she becomes addicted to it. She starts chasing that feeling, not intentionally, not consciously, but in a way that slowly takes over her thoughts. And here's where the real danger lies. Because once a woman rediscovers the power of her desirability, she doesn't want to lose it again. At first, it's just for fun. Just a little ego boost. Just something to make her feel alive. But then, something shifts. What started as innocent validation turns into something much darker, a test. How far can she go? How much control does she still have? If she pushes the boundary just a little further, will he still chase her? Will he still crave her? And that's when she makes the choice. Not a conscious, deliberate decision. Not a plan. A moment. A moment where she doesn't pull away. Where she lets the conversation go where it shouldn't. Where she takes that next step, because the thrill of being wanted outweighs the guilt of betrayal. Most men assume that a married woman who cheats must be emotionally broken. But the reality is far more unsettling. Because many of them aren't running from a bad marriage, they're chasing the ghost of the woman they used to be. And once she tastes that feeling again, once she remembers the intoxicating thrill of knowing she's still desired, stopping feels impossible. Because at this point, it's no longer just about the attention. It's about proving something to herself. And once she reaches this stage, nothing else matters. Not the risk. Not the consequences. Not even the marriage she once fought to protect. Because now, she's no longer just a wife. She's a temptress again. And that brings us to the final, most shocking truth, one that applies to 85% of married women. Because once she crosses the final threshold, there's no turning back. So stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal next will change the way you see married women forever. Most people believe there's a moment of hesitation, a second where a married woman caught in temptation will stop, reconsider, and step away before crossing the line. But that's not how it happens. Because by the time she reaches this point, the decision has already been made. Not consciously, not deliberately, but in her mind and body, the choice has already taken root. The moment she allows herself to feel wanted again, the moment she realizes she still has the power to turn heads, to captivate, to control desire, it's no longer about right or wrong. It's about who she wants to be. The woman she was before marriage? The one who felt desirable, exciting, untamed? She's been buried under years of routine, expectations, and predictability. But now she has the chance to bring her back. And that's why stopping is no longer an option. Because once she has felt the thrill of being chosen again, chosen over another man's wife, over responsibility, over morality, there is no going back to the way things were. At this stage, it's no longer just about the affair, the attention, or the excitement. It's about identity. She isn't just a wife anymore. She isn't just a mother. She isn't just someone's partner. She is a woman who can still take what she wants. And once that belief settles in, it changes everything. Because at this point, she no longer sees her husband as her priority. The real connection, the real passion, the real intimacy, it's happening elsewhere. And when that shift happens, there are only two ways the story ends. She gets caught up, or she walks away. So now, you have a choice. You can ignore these signs. You can pretend they don't exist. Or you can recognize them before it's too late. Because if you don't see it coming, you'll never know it's happening until everything is already lost. If this video made you think, if it opened your eyes, then do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Do you think temptation is inevitable? Or can it be stopped before it begins? I want to hear your thoughts. This is Real Stoicism. Until next time.